There you go. That's what Cortez looks like. Just to give you a bit of reference, that space is located right beside the community hall and sort of one of the downtown centers on Cortez. And I spoke with one of the folks involved with the food bank today, and they said that over the last 3 years, usage has gone up by 100% every year. And it's primarily, it's a lot of seniors, folks that are on pensions and really limited incomes, and single mothers. But one of the interesting things he mentioned was that there's a mental health component to this as well, and that when he's seen folks when they get some access to good healthy food and have some stability around food security, that it really impacts other parts of their life, including reducing the likelihood to need medical support and other costs to government systems. So this is a grant request for $20,000 to help them finish this, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you.
It was received. Director Sinnott.
Are we allowed to ask some questions at this point on receipt? I think we do normally. So is there no other source of funding for this project? Because my concern is the way I've read this report, that we basically have to show that we are not avoiding any other infrastructure projects that the SRD may have before we go out to third parties. So if we go out to third parties and fund it, we jeopardize potentially all our other grant requests internal to this, the gas tax application. So is that correct? There's potential risk?
Well, this is a challenge. So in the recommendations, the third recommendations, those are basically from UBCM. They're a cut and paste that the board's required to resolve in order to support these. So yeah, that's the challenge, right? Is that it's if you're funding third party, not that it's not needed. I don't think there's any question there's a need for stuff like this. The question is and the challenge with UBCM is there another source of funding, and are you out of infrastructure projects yourself that could use this money instead? So that's a tricky one there. The message can be, well, if you're giving it to third parties, again, not that it's not required. I'm not going to say that there's a need for it, no doubt. But if you're giving your gas tax money to third parties, are you saying you don't have any infrastructure needs yourself?
Yeah, hence my question, is there no other alternate bucket of money? I don't think there's any question. This is a worthy project. It might not be a worthy project for this bucket. That's my concern. And is there something we can look at?
Yeah, I guess a little background from my perspective. This is sort of the exact same question around the support that we provided for the community commons space as well. And one of the challenges on Cortez is that we don't have SRD capital projects to invest gas tax funding. So we do have to sort of, take these extra steps to be able to provide it through a third party. And, it is, a really small amount compared to, building a, if we were going to contribute this to Strathcona Gardens, for example, 28,000 is a real drop in the bucket on a $150 million project. So that, we're making a real impact here. And as long as the board supports this is something that we can do. And yeah, I appreciate the question, but and really hope everyone can support this. Thank you.
I don't think it's not a supportive project. It's a risk question from this particular fund, because I'm reading what the requirements are, is that we're funding something because we are going to put in our capital plan. There's annual reporting requirements on this funding. It has to show up later on in terms of how we're going to eventually provide this service. So are we going to provide now a food hub service? I don't think that's in the plan. So I don't like going to UBCM and asking for the gas tax money to be used in a place that's not actually legitimately going, if it's going to jeopardize other grant requests we have or other projects, because they could say, well, you don't need any infrastructure money. You're applying for this grant over here, but you don't need it because we're funding third parties now. So that's, and I don't think it just says it's just for Cortez, because that's our choice to make this money for Cortez. We had that discussion around the table. This is to the UBCM is SRD money. How you subdivide it is your choice, but that doesn't necessarily mean how they see it. So now it's not like we say, well, Cortez doesn't have enough infrastructure and this is how we decided to do it. So they might turn around and say, no, you can't even give it off to third parties on Cortez because they have a shortfall of infrastructure where you have other infrastructure projects in the entire SRD because this is SRD general money to them. So I'm looking for some direction from staff in terms of how we can get to where we need to go, as opposed to creating risks and bumps that we don't want to necessarily create.
Yeah, I think, and I'm sure Dave will fill in here, the motions in front of us sort of allow us to make sure that it works. And by moving these motions forward, then that sort of checks the boxes for UBCM.
It checks the boxes for UBCM. However, I think we need to look at these types of things. I mean, without questioning the need for it. If I'd say there's one saving grace with this, the amount is not, life-changing money. But what I think we have to look at is moving forward, because these are comments we've received back from UBCM. And so let's pretend it's 280,000. Is there nothing within the regional district that you can't use 280,000 for? If you're giving a third party, we're one of one in the province. Nobody else, no other regional district is giving gas tax to third parties. Again, it's not saying it's not, the money isn't needed, but what's the other way? So, it's not a large amount of money. Okay, fine. It can add risk to other funding opportunities because we're giving this money away. 28,000 might not be the threshold for that, but I think it's more the messaging out of that. But, from my perspective, I've encouraged this for a long time. I think there's a need for it. I think, they should start a service. Like, if folks support this on Cortez and you went to them and said, forever, what do we need moving forward? Because we need an asset management plan, right? So we don't have a service for it. So we're committing to supporting asset management planning. But we don't have a service. So, I think there's things we need to address and commit to, because it's the rare project that I think is 28,000, but we have to worry about the messaging for other projects. We got to worry about how we're going to support asset management for something that we don't own or we don't have a service for, and that we're committing to a regional priority. So that's what we're saying. And I'm only putting it there because UBCM has said you got to put that there. So, this is, this is kind of the challenge with community works funds, is it has strings attached to it, and it's meant for certain things, and it's meant to support local government infrastructure. So when you're not, what does that message say?
Okay, further discussion, Director Chapman.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for your comments, Dave. I think it's quite appropriate. Going back in the olden days when I had hair and working in local government, a lot of us fought hard and long for the gas tax funding. And I can tell you that it was never intended to be used how we're using it here and how we've used it in the past. And I'm going to be a bad cop here, if electoral area B doesn't have any infrastructure needs or requirements, then why are they being allocated gas tax funding? So in order to justify that, I think what you need to do is what Dave said, is to start a service for food security. And that would be the first step into legitimizing using gas tax funding for the food bank. And I think, I support the food banks. I do. And I think there is a need everywhere for it. But I think we need to make sure, as Director Sinnott said, that we're not cutting our nose off spite our face. And I think this is a bit premature. And I know you want to move forward on this quickly, but I think we need to do a local service before we do this. That's just my opinion.
Okay, Director Mawhinney, then Director Wally.
Thank you, Chair. You know, I think I'm looking at this slightly different than some of my colleagues around the table. And I read the list of, I think there were 18 different options for the Community Works funds to be used. And I saw two of them where this fit really clearly. Number one, under resilience, which is infrastructure and systems that protect and strengthen the resilience of communities to withstand and sustain services in the face of natural disasters, extreme weather events, and climate change. And I do feel that a food security system like this is really building resilience in a place which is going to be really hard to access if there is a significant event. So I think that this is a really fits well under that category. And I also think that it really fits under community benefit. You know, they're saying that it's it's primarily for public use or public benefit, and that is entirely what this is. This is not being used for a personal benefit. And just when I sort of expand my view beyond looking at what's happening here in Cortez, and I look at what's happening on Quadra, and I've heard from the volunteers that are organizing the food bank on Quadra Island, the incredible new costs which they have been downloaded from the federal government in the ways that they have to manage the food bank and the way that things have to be stored. And on Quadra, we have the benefit of having the food bank using some space, though it's inadequate currently, at a community center, which is an SRD asset. And the SRD doesn't have an asset on Cortez that they could be putting this in. So instead, it's being built into the heart of the community that is there. It's an opportunity to build it on community-owned land instead of asking for the support of it to come out of somebody's garage. And I think it's entirely falls within both the community benefit and the resilience categories. And I am in favor of supporting this. Thank you.
Dave?
So the good news is I completely agree with everything you said. There's no question that it qualifies for under those categories. You're 100% right. So I'm just the challenge is, again, these are the UBCM resolutions. So it's not an SRD asset. Okay, so is this a regional priority within the regional district? So do you have any other regional deficiencies that you could use this money for yourself? That's the challenge. It qualifies under there, but it's to a third party, and are we replacing it? So is there a need anywhere else in the region for this fund yourself over a third party? The messaging says we're flush, we're good, we can give money to a third party. That's what this is about, not whether it's a good thing, whether it qualifies under that. Is it the gas tax money is intended for local government infrastructure? And then if you don't have any needs, then start giving it away to third parties. That's what comes back from UBCM. So their comments to us is, I guess you guys don't have any regional infrastructure problems. And it's like, well, no, because they said, the same funder said to us, I'm staring at two on my desk that you have strategic priorities fund for recreation and Cayucet. And it says here you need money. But when you give it away to a third party, that contradicts that message. That's what I'm saying the challenge is.
I appreciate that. And if I may have a slight follow-up, Chair, I think that when we look at our strategic priorities, we know that we have determined as a group that we want to identify and support initiatives which improve the health and well-being in our communities. And if we are not, as a board, in a position to have land where we can build what we need to build on Cortez to support their community, well, then we have found a way to continue to support their community and the health and well-being, and an initiative to support the health and well-being of their community right here. with a small amount of money. So I just don't see the problem. I mean, I recognize what you're saying is that there are, of course, other priorities as well, but I do feel like food and shelter are kind of like, top of the list when it comes to what people need.
So if I can, Mr. Chair, you're going to go 2 for 2 because you're 100% right again. This isn't about us. And like me and Director Von Esch had a good chat yesterday. He has a philosophy similar to what you do about what's good for the community. I say this tongue in cheek. UBCM doesn't care. They're like, this money is for infrastructure for your own area. And if you're giving it away, that says you don't have a need. I'm not taking away your perspective or his perspective. It's the funder. Like this is what they're looking at. Okay. And so they say, okay, fine. It's up to this board. Then resolve that this is a strategic priority and you don't have any infrastructure deficits. Now, I'm not saying this particular one is a deal breaker. We're talking about $28,000. But my point about this is we need to really look at this closer as we move forward. We have to consider the creating services for it and or how is this board going to feel if $300,000, $500,000 gas tax project comes to a third party, and at the same time we're making a $2 million grant application for Cayuga Hall or Strathcona Gardens, right? I'm not taking away your perspective because you're 100% right, but our perspective doesn't matter really in terms of this. They're the funders, and this is the messaging. So the challenge for us, and I'm not saying 28,000 is a deal breaker. I don't honestly believe it is. But moving forward, I don't think we can take the same approach when the number is 200,000 or 500,000. That's kind of the message, and we need to address that moving forward.
Director Lott, we haven't heard from yet.
Thank you, Chair.
Director.
It seems like we're trying to make a decision on incomplete information. I agree with my other colleagues who spoke in favor of this because I think food banks are valuable in our community. They provide important support to at-risk or marginalized people in our community, which we're called to look after. However, there seems to be another interpretation that if we do support this, then it jeopardizes potentially more important applications that we may be making. And my question is, in order for me to have clarity, is that have we approached UBCM? Have we presented this issue to them? Have we asked them whether or not if we were to support this, it would jeopardize, as the CAO is seem to be warning us about? Do we have any correspondence with them that affirms what the concerns are? Because right now it seems very speculative, and it's hard for, I think, the board to make a determination if they have incomplete information.
So if I can, Mr. Chair, yes, we have. This is the information I'm trying to relay back to you, is that when we call about trying to find a space for it to fit in, as Director Mawhinney has found a couple landing spots, that's where the conversation about funding it. So we have those. And that information then has been brought forward from them that said, like that's how we got the information that we're the only one of the regional districts in the province giving it to third parties. And then asking us, do you not have infrastructure deficits anywhere else? Is that why you're giving it? So I'm trying to communicate back what UBCM has said to us. And then trying to give some relevance to it in that, yes, I acknowledge 28,000 is not a massive amount of money. But I don't think this is a path we can continue down with substantial amounts of money. Again, 28,000, are they not going to give us an award for another application for 2 million because we gave 28,000? But a number of them, as we know, come across our desks at significantly more. And then you can start doing material things with more money than that. So the messaging is what I'm trying to say that's come back to us is not great. Now, if I hand somebody a nickel on the street, that doesn't mean I'm rich and I don't need money. But if I handed somebody 100,000, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you got plenty of money to spare. So 28,000 probably falls in the nickel category. But it's something we certainly need to be aware of and start addressing that instead of the path that we're on.
Follow-up, Chair?
Sure.
Based on the feedback that you got from UBCM from your solicitation of that question, it seems very apparent to me that if we did pursue this, which I think is a noble goal, it would certainly jeopardize, they're warning us, that would certainly jeopardize other applications that we might be looking at. And so based on that, I wouldn't support this.
Director Dahl.
If I can, I just want to caveat that with potential. Like, you're not going to get someone from UBCM saying, forget it. If you guys give this, you're flush of money, I don't need it. It's, you know, the potential for how that's seen upon. And I think somebody needs to look at that and say, well, it's 28,000, not 2.8 million. But that's what lingers. That's the suggestion that's provided to us.
Thank you for that response. However, once they respond in that manner, they're telling me that that's a potential complication. And that's alarming to me.
Okay. Director Dahl.
I think it's pretty obvious that this is the wrong funding source, but I think it's also pretty obvious, and it has been multiple times mentioned here, that Community Works funds dollars are not regional. They are owned by, or the belief is they're owned by electoral area directors. And if it has impact the way that it's spent on any other director, it really is irrelevant. So, you know, we can beat this to death. The risk to anyone else down the road is not a consideration. And I think that we should just call the question on receipt and then vote. Because, you know, the answer is a regional priority within the regional district long-term capital investment plan? No. Is there capital works projects that should be looked at? Yes. Is this one? No. But it's been brought forward by the director of Area B, so let's call the question on receipt and vote.
Director Wally.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, it's kind of unfortunate that the electoral areas own gas tax money. I don't think the board's going to find anything that they would want to spend it on that would be a regional priority in their view. If you take, for example, the last expenditure I made, $50,000. I gave it to the Royal Canadian Legion in the village of Sayward. You're telling me that was a big mistake? Shouldn't have done that. That village Legion would have closed at the end of it because that donation is still functioning, doing well. So I think there's a little bit of disconnect in saying that this jeopardizes anything. Every municipality gets its own gas tax. They spend it any way they want. They can go to a third party anytime they feel like it. And to say, well, electoral area gas tax money, no, that's got to be spent on what the municipalities want. That's not quite right.
Director Chapman. And then we call the question.
Can I have the last one?
Yeah. I'll go to you. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, the donor of the money looks at it differently. And I think we need to take that into consideration. A certain amount was given to the regional district, the Strathcona Regional District. Internally, we've allocated it out to the electoral areas. And that's why I think, and the CIO will correct me if I'm wrong, that's why they're asking, do you not have any infrastructure needs anywhere else in the regional district? And the answer to that is yes, we do.
Okay, Director Barnesh for the last word.
Thank you, Chair. You know, listening to what you all have to say, I think the CEO is right. You know, if I was asking for $300,000 here, I think that could be put at risk. And you know, just to address the idea of, you know, whose gas tax money is. The gas tax money is the SRD's, comes to the SRD, but the amount that comes is based on population of the electoral area. So the $60,000 or $65,000 is a per person on Cortez of how we get. So I think that, you know, the spirit is that we do try and spend it in those areas, not to say that it can also be spent on regional priorities or other places in the SRD. This is $28,000. It's going to have a huge impact. This is affecting the most vulnerable people on Cortez. And, you know, I think the CEO is right. If this was a huge number, we would put it at have an impact. But when we're looking at our infrastructure projects of, you know, 150 million compared to 28,000, I don't think it's going to put it at risk. And I just really ask each of you to sort of think about like the real impact on the people that are struggling the most when I make these next motions. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just a comment about prioritizing the third-party assets. Just an example of what their ideal scenario is we've, for the past several years, we've had Area D bus shelters in the financial plan. So that is part of our long-term planning, everything else. If a community group came forward and said they want to build their own bus shelter and they want a 50% contribution, that would actually lower the taxes for the Area D residents by essentially 50%. So that's kind of what the third party distribution is meant for. There would be no penalty under that situation. But if Area D, on the other hand, you know, never had any long-term planning documents that spoke to a playground or something, and then a community group came forward, we just wouldn't be able to point at anything that said this was a past priority. But anytime you're using a third party contributing to a third party to offset stuff in your long-term plan, UBCM views that as success overall because it saves people the money. So I just wanted to point out it's not all third-party contributions should be prioritized last. They should just be prioritizing projects that have existed for quite some time.
Okay, thank you. Director Mulroney, then we get
I
a
just had a
question.
question for, through the chair to the CFO on that, because when you're saying it has to be in our long-term plan, but I'm looking at our strategic priorities that we determined that was the goals for this board for the next 4 years when we did that. And it definitely talks about identifying and supporting initiatives that improve health and well-being in communities. Would you consider that part of our long-term planning, or is that a separate category? Or could it be considered that when you're providing the information to UBCM?
I think they would look back to is the appropriate pot of funding. So usually for gas tax, social services aren't eligible, but under that's what kind of prompted the whole situation. So no, they would look for your long-term asset management plan. They would say, where is the food bank in that? And then if it's not there, you would have trouble justifying it, if that answers your question.
Well, each electoral area has some kind of capital plan. And again, one of the things moving forward, we're getting into budget is that I encourage all the areas, the A's especially though, is to populate those capital plans with ideas. You don't have to fund them. You can put grant funding. They don't have to come from requisition or reserve, but identify them, right? So for example, under this one, let's say there was a food service in there, and that, like Mike said, they came and said, we need 28,000. If we didn't give them 28,000 of gas tax, maybe we'd have to give them 28,000 of requisition. So it'd help offset infrastructure costs under the program in there. So again, it's the challenge is these are the resolutions that they require you to have. And, with our capital planning and asset management plan, you have to ask yourself, is that on there? That's the challenge. And the whole board has to vote on that. It has nothing to do with, does it fit in a category? Is it important? Is it required? I think we all agree on that. This is just a funding mechanism that they require you to say yes, yes, and yes to.
Director Rice, then Director Dahl for the last word.
Thank you, Chair. I understand what Director Vinesh is trying to do here, but I also have concerns if we were to move forward with this. It is quite concerning to give money to a third party and be noted as being the only ones in the province doing that. The other thing that I do want to mention is that Area D does have a lot of infrastructure needs. And I would certainly hope that if the board made that decision that they were going to go ahead with this, that it wouldn't jeopardize any potential grants that I might be looking at. And the other thing that I do want to mention, and I would encourage Director Vinesh to think about it, if you were to start a local service, I don't think it would be a very expensive service. And I think it would actually do you much better than just a one-time cash from the gas tax money. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Director Dahl?
Through the chair to the CAO or the CFO, it's been said multiple times, is there a different funding source? Has the electoral area just decided that this is going to be the funding sources, or is there another funding source that would actually be appropriate for this type of model?
Well, there can be lots of grant funding, but requisition is a funding source, right? That's where services come from. So I would say an alternate, we only have a couple sources of funding. It's tax requisition or grants. Gas tax is one of them. It has a lot of ties to it, requirements, but requisition and grants are kind of two ways we get money. Grants and aid, I don't know what they have, but there is a grant and aid function, certainly, or service in Area B. You're not bound to the amounts in the budget. You can overrun them. So technically speaking, Area B could give a grant and aid to the group for 28,000, regardless of what was budgeted in the financial plan.
Use your microphone, please.
Well, reserve, no, because there's no service for it. So, yeah, I think the only, unless Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, the only kind of way to get money to something that isn't a service would be through a grant. So we give grants to, community groups and organizations that we don't have services to. So I can only think of a grant and aid. Mike,
Yeah, in general, you either have a service for it, you run it through a direct requisition, or you do it a grant and aid, just because that's a blanket service. Or, for example, some of the areas have like an economic development service, so that could go to specific, development initiatives that aren't necessarily wrapped up. But yeah, for this one, I would say Area B would have a grant and aid option. That too, there's the budget for that's 29,000. I think 5,000 has been spent to date, but as Dave says, you could always run a deficit and tax for it next year.
Okay,
Can I speak last, please?
by all means.
Thank you. Just want to clear up one thing. The comment that, that BC doesn't give these funding out to third-party projects. I just want to part of the report that we're looking at, and it says, further discussions with UBC highlighted that while every province administers its own version of the gas tax program, British Columbia stands out for allowing a comparatively high number of third-party contributions. So it's actually common in BC to give this funding to third parties. Outside of BC, there's only one other project, I think it's in Ontario, but in BC, this is common. And yeah, gas tax funding's an option, but we're talking as a board to limit that at 5,000. We've already got a process started where we're providing that funding or doing a call out for funding from the nonprofits on Cortez. The board may recall that we did put $5,000 in grant and aid towards this project. Again, just really asking you to reach into your heart here for a $28,000 project. And move this forward. It's going to have a huge impact, and I don't think it's, given the small number, I don't think it's going to have an impact on the huge infrastructure projects that we do have in the SRD. Thank you so much.
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B, Director Vinesh.
I'll move that the 2025-29 financial plan be amended to incorporate $28,000 from the Electoral Area B Community Works Fund to fund the Cortez Island Food Security Hub.
Second, Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The motion is defeated. I'm sorry?
Matthew Jack, did you vote in favor for that?
I'm sorry?
Matthew Jack was in favor.
That is, yeah, so maybe just poll them what they vote.
Okay, Director Kerr, how did you vote? You may not be there.
You're muted if you're there.
He said in favor.
Director Jack, are you in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So all those opposed, please put up your hands again. Six, seven.
6.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So those in favor, put up your hands, please. Oh, we got an extra one here.
So it's 7 with on
Okay, plus Matthew Jack online.
and Ron too.
Ron's not there. Yeah,
We've done that before. We've done that before.
okay, like, let's be fair, Ron not answering, or that can work both ways.
It does, and it has.
I don't, if you want to go down, I leave that to the chair.
So you have 6 in favor and 7 opposed. Okay. Okay,
Sorry, how did you vote?
I was opposed. Okay, motion's defeated. So there's no point on C and D. Correct?
Does Director Von Esch want to propose a motion to ask staff to work on establishing a local service for this, plus looking at the grants, his grants and aid?
Regarding local service, this project isn't looking for annual operating funding. It's looking to replace a desperate need of a food bank that is in someone's garage that needs to be moved and refurbishing a new space. So no, I'm not interested in looking at a service at this point. Thank you.
What about grant and aid?
I'm not going to give a $28,000 grant to one project. At this point, we've already got a process started for this year. We use our grants and aid sort of $2,000 to $5,000 grants. Thank you.
Number 17, Director Senate.
Thank you, Chair. I'll make a motion regarding the Regional District Policy Review, Part 3, that the report from the CEO be received.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. B.
I'll make the motion that policy numbers 30, 31, 33, 35, 38, 50, 51, 55 to 57, and 65 is outlined in the September 24th, 2025 report from the CEO be revoked.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
And I'll make a motion that policy number 37 be converted from a Comox Strathcona Regional District policy to a Strathcona Regional District policy and returned for further consideration by the board.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? Director Mawhinney?
Thank you, Chair. It's great that we're tidying up and engaging with board policies. And I'm curious, and maybe this is a question to the CAO, when the last time this policy was used or consulted when a long-term staff member departed the organization. I know recently John Neal retired after many years of serving the corporation and the electoral areas of the region. Was he a recipient of recognition based on this policy?
Well, I don't want to name people by names, but the policy is active and used.
Okay, thank you for that. That's great. So I am, and I apologize for naming somebody if I wasn't supposed to do that. I'm in favor of converting the policy and also considering updating it with a more reasonable financial recognition. The policy was created in 1999, so I'm wondering if doubling the numbers would be adequate. And I'm also curious to hear from my fellow directors if it will be reasonable or unreasonable to include in the policy that the recognitions are given at a board meeting. Looking for some feedback.
Motion on the floor has to be decided first.
That about, aren't we talking about the policy 37? That's what I'm talking about.
Go ahead.
So, Mr. Chairman, the motion on the floor could be defeated, in which case I think the director's desire to introduce further elements would be basically academic. Or if it's passed, then the board could pass another motion saying we want this, that, or the other thing. Or that could wait until the policy is brought back for review.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Senate.
Or, yes, thank you, Chair. It's regarding North Island 911 shareholder agreement that the report from the CEO be received.
Second.
Discussion?
Just for the board's information, I see that all the other regional districts to date now have signed the shareholder agreement.
Okay, on receipt, Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. I noticed in the report that there was a mention of the address being incorrect in the agreement. And I'm not sure if we would be able to move, if you're saying that all the other regional districts have already signed off on the agreement with the incorrect address for the Strathcona Regional District. It has us on Comox Avenue or Comox Road
Yeah,
or something.
I think we can correct that with the
Yeah.
CRD staff, yeah.
Okay. And I did have one question, and perhaps it's through the chair to the CAO or to the director. I'm not sure which director sits on the 911, North Island 911.
Director Rice.
It's Director Rice, okay. Well, I read through the report and in particular the red line version on page 51 of the PDF. There is an additional point being added regarding Freedom of Information and Privacy Act applying to the company. And the company will make public the financial documents. However, it's just saying that anybody, any constituent who is interested in the documents has to travel to West Georgia Street in Vancouver to access the information. Was that considered, or is there a way of having the information accessible via the internet?
This was not something that was discussed at any of the 911 meetings, so I wouldn't be able to answer your question.
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Options?
I'll move option A.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Mawhinney, number 19.
Housing Symposium funding request, move that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Options?
Health Network Function 401 toward the Housing Symposium plan to take place in 2026.
Second.
Thank you. Director Rice, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Wally, number 20.
Request for financial assistance, Sabre Secret Santa, move that the CAO's report be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
Further move that grant and aid for Sabre Secret Santa, care of Debbie Grill, be paid from electoral area A grant and aid budget in the amount of $200 to assist with providing 2025 Christmas hampers and gifts to favored families in need.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Von Esch, bylaw number 1.
Bylaw number 598, Cortez Island zoning bylaw. I'd like to actually defer this item. So do we receive it and then defer, or do I defer right away? I can defer right away. Yeah. So I'd like to defer this to the next board meeting. There's been a ton of public input on this. And I want to take more time to analyze it. And I also want to take some time to review some of the changes with staff. So I'll take a motion to defer. Thank you.
Second? Director Wally, discussion. All in favor? Oh, Director Chapman.
Thank you, Chair. This is a zoning bylaw. And if additional information has come in that wasn't at the public meeting, then you're obliged to then hold another public hearing.
Yep.
Just so you're aware.
Very aware. Yeah. I don't know if it was, there's a lot of pages there of things. I don't, were you able to read this?
Okay, thank you. So on receipt, all deferral, sorry. On deferral, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Dahl, number 2 bylaw, please.
The report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
That the bylaw number 607 being Strathcona Gardens Loan Authorization Bylaw 2025 be now considered finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Wally, number 3.
Bylaw number 616, Duncan Bay Fire Protection Service. I move that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Just maybe a comment before Director Wally makes a motion. This is one of the trickier things with a smaller area of petitions is we don't know that the do nothing is a no vote. We don't know if they got it. We don't know if they truly opposed or that. So just some information for you. It's not like we get the opposition say, hey, we're not in favor of it. Silence is a no, and you never know if they got it or that. So just something for you.
Okay, on receipt,
May I make a comment there, Mr. Chair?
please.
Yeah, just a question to staff here. How do we notify these people? Do we go door to door or send them a letter or?
I believe we either door-to-door petition, mailed it to them.
I
Um,
believe
don't respond.
John can speak to this.
Sure. But yeah, some just don't, people inherently don't respond. What that means is you have to interpret it, but technically speaking, it's a no.
Yeah, through the chair. So for both the last petition processes for this service, we've relied on a steering committee of locals from the area to help us spread the news as well as send them letters. You know, going door to door as a regional district employee and trying to be neutral on that. A difficult place to be in.
I was going to move option B, but if we've already notified everybody, it seems a little purpose to extend the time frame. But I guess it won't hurt. I'll move option B after receipt.
Director Dahl?
Through the chair, would you say that the residents of this area understood that without this, they have no fire protection? And that means that they can't even phone for fire protection? The city of Campbell River will not be able to legally respond to calls?
Yeah, I think that's kind of why we were hoping that there was a little more that, and it sounds like the director is going to support it, to kind of make sure that message is there. So you never know if they just didn't respond. So we want to make sure on that. So it sounds like the director is in support of the option B, and we'll make sure those that didn't respond or opposed are aware of that.
And maybe we should let the city know, because the city's already received a letter that said that they will not need to be concerned with providing fire service to that area.
Where'd that come from?
Where'd it come from? Yeah.
Not sure, but our CAO had the letter yesterday.
Because the way it works is people can ask or request a service, and then there has to be a 50% supporting that service, right? So they initially came to us and said, hey, we'd be interested in it. Went to the city, got the cost for it. We put in a petition and say, hey, so the only people that can say we're not interested are the collective group. So I don't know who that came from. I would disregard it in terms of, support or not support. And if option B, will certainly come back and can say to you confidently, the people that vote no, know they have no fire support, they can't call, period. Yes.
To add a point, sorry, I wasn't too sure if it was in the first page. We only did receive one active no vote, that somebody checked the no and returned it.
Okay. So on receipt, no on option, sorry,
On receipt.
on receipt still. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
So I'll move option B, the petition process be extended until the end of the November and the results be reported to the board at the conclusion of the extension period.
Second.
Director Moini, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Chapman, number 4, please.
That the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I move that bylaw 623, being a bylaw to amend the procedures applicable to meetings of the regional board and its committees, be now introduced and read a first time.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I move that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 623 being given second and third readings.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I move that bylaw 623 be returned for further consideration by the board following the conclusion of the public notification process.
Second.
Director Colburn, you're on a roll there. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Lott.
Thank you, Chair. Number 5, bylaw number 624, public records assessment. Move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Be it moved that bylaw number 624, being a bylaw to amend the regulations governing access to public records held by the regional district, be now introduced and read a first time.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
C, move that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 624 be given second and third reading.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
D, move that bylaw number 624, being information access and privacy protection bylaw amendment number 1, be now reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Director Moini, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Rice.
Number 6, bylaw number 625, Oyster Riverbank Protection Service. I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move item B, that the bylaw number 625, being a bylaw to amend provisions of the Oyster Riverbank Protection Service within electoral area D, be now introduced and read a first time.
Director Lott, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Like to move item C, that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 625 be given second and third readings.
Second.
Director Lott, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
Like to move item D, that the electoral approval of bylaw number 625 be authorized to be obtained using an alternate approval process.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? Go ahead.
Just one question for staff. How quick would the website be updated with this alternate approval process?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, first we'll have to send it to Victoria for approval by the inspector. So I would estimate at least a month, maybe 6 weeks or longer.
Thank you for that.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
I'd like to move item E, that bylaw number 625 be returned for further consideration by the board following approval by the inspector of municipality.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Director Lott, number 7.
Thank you, Chair. Bylaw number 626, Financial Plan 2025-2029, Amendment number 1. A, that the report from, I'd like to move, that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
B, I'd like to move that the bylaw number 626, being a bylaw to amend the 2025 to 2029 Financial Plan and Capital Expenditures Program, be now introduced and read at first time.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
C, move that the rules be suspended and bylaw number 626 be given second and third reading.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
D, move that the bylaw number 626 being 2025 to 2029 Financial Plan and Capital Expenditure Program bylaw amendment number 1 be reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Dr. Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Correspondence.
Move receipt of correspondence 1 through 6.
Thank you. Second, Director Wally, discussion?
I was hoping we could pull number 2.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Number 2, Director Sinnott.
Yeah, just more for discussion around the table, make sure we're on track. So, what's that? Yeah, I'm going to move receipt. I'm just explaining why I'm doing this. That the October 3rd, 2025 correspondence from the Union of BC Municipalities regarding the Heritage Conservation Act consultation process be received.
Second.
Discussion?
And I think it's just to make sure, we got a process internally right now that staff are coming back on a timely basis. I think the deadline's November 15th for reply. Or is there going to miss the deadline? I just want to confirm we've got a process in place that we can respond.
Yeah, I think the deadline here says November 14th. Yeah, it's 14th.
Could we derive something out of the committee at the whole meeting, perhaps?
Prior to that,
Correct.
we could, if we can find a meeting date, for sure. Let's,
Your microphone, please.
I think what.
I thought I understood that the CAO
Yeah, I
was
think what
intended to respond.
Director Sinnott is alluding to is to give me some information the committee would to respond to. I believe, am I?
Partly and coordinate with the city potentially, because the city's working on this as well. I mean, we're all concerned about the general scope of what's going on, and it might be a little bit much to give really meaningful replies by the deadline, and we might have to even extend or request more extensions. I'm not sure, but I wait to hear. I was kind of hoping we'd hear from you, and then we'd have some sort of report that we'd move forward with.
So there's a survey. The tricky thing for me is, I mean, I think I get it and I have a perspective, but I don't know what the perspective of the 14 people here are, right? And it says that there's a survey available to the CEO, follow-up interviews with selected staff, whoever knows if we're selected staff or not, and webinars with elected officials. So it may be a little bit dangerous that I fill out the survey and it doesn't share the perspective of this board. So I can certainly do that. However, I can also take your input and populate the survey by that. And or, I mean, I could bring the survey, I don't know how long the survey is, but bring it and collectively, I can have a look at that. I mean, if it's 100 questions, that's not gonna be practical, but I can have a look at it. But if we want to have a committee of the whole meeting in regards to it, I mean, we're all here Monday to Friday. So, you know, as long as we can get a quorum of folks to attend, we can schedule a meeting for anything.
Yeah, I appreciate all that. I would not sure what I might remove right now if we can get set together with some sort of committee of the whole meeting. I am at capacity. I signed up for updates. I saw the one update. I haven't seen this. I haven't read the second update. It arrived in my inbox. The first update that I saw that's a couple weeks old shocked me that no land transfers could occur without an archaeological certificate, which I was like, that's functionally impossible in this province to get archaeological certificates for the volume of land transfers we do as a lawyer. Just like, I don't know where they're going with this. So I understand the intent, but my good grief.
So just looking at the schedule here, it said, interesting, it says submissions for the, and sharing the final report is November 14th. November 7th, it says presentation of findings report via elected officials, which is curious because if the deadline for the survey is November 14th, how on the 7th can you give a presentation on the preliminary findings? I don't get that, but.
If I may, I believe that the province has offered at least 2 webinar options and for local government elected officials to participate and give feedback. I participated in one prior to UBCM, and I know there was another one since then. So perhaps that's what they're referring to in that comment.
I think the comment is that they're presenting based on surveys, but surveys aren't yet readily submitted by then. So they're doing a presentation on surveys a week before they're due. In any event, I know that we had the email that went out with different dates. So just looking maybe to Mr. Yates or other staff, we don't have the committee of the whole date. We had the October 31st proposed. That's a conflict with the city event. We had the 6th, the 12th of November, and we still don't have a confirmation. Is there any way we can get our people right now to commit?
Tom, what was the date that had I think at least a quorum support? Was it the 5th?
The 6th was preferred marginally over the 12th. I think probably could get a quorum for either date, but the 6th was more popular.
So, I mean, what we could do for agenda, if you like, is we could go over the survey questions and have that as the item for the 6th if we can have enough folks there, and it sounds like we'll at least have quorum, so.
Yes, please, thank you. We have to still call a question.
Still on receipt. All in favor? Oh, sorry, Director Rice.
Just one question. I did see the email with the link for the online survey. However, that link wasn't working, and I was wondering, does anybody have the actual URL to that survey?
I'm pretty certain I do. Now, I don't know how they're vetting because it says the CEOs only, so.
Well, no, there was supposed to be one for local government. There was one for First Nations, a date, and then one for local government, a second
Okay,
date.
I can look into that.
And again, those links were not working, and I just didn't have time to go back and.
Is that for the webinars or what was it for?
That was for I believe it was for the online survey, if I read it right.
Again, I'm not an expert on it, but it seemed to say the survey was only open to the CAO.
My understanding is that it was supposed to be open to
Okay.
more than just the
Sure,
CEO.
we'll get some clarity on that, and if there's a link, we'll test it and send it out if there's something for elected officials for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
So I'll obviously move number B, that the October 15th, 2025 correspondence from the Union of BC municipalities regarding the Heritage Conservation Act webinars be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B. Just hit B, sorry. Reading again. Okay, members report, medical professional recruitment. Director Sinnott?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I think that UBCM, or maybe just before that, there was a news article that the city of Colwood had worked with the province to create a primary care clinic and start hiring physicians. And I think we've had some informal discussions about providing better physician services or better physician recruitment or some other types of ways to support our community. The CAO and I've been emailing back and forth, and he got me some statistics, so it depends where you go. I think in the register of people seeking physicians, it's around 2,400 in the region, but there's also other indications that the actual shortage is between 4,000 to 7,000 people in the region do not have access to a primary care physician. Depending on the caseloads, whether it's 250 people or 1,000, we're short at least 6 to 14 physicians in the region, which corresponds to the decline in physicians in the past 14 years. Basically, we had that number 58, now we're down to, or 56, and we're down to 41 now. So we've lost quite a few physicians. It's the boomer age. It's the general region the questions were asked about, but it's very hard because only, I think, Gold River has 4 physicians that are noted in publicly available data. The rest are sort of clinic situations and they're kind of fluctuating. Or there's I think it's say where there's only a nurse practitioner.
Not anymore.
Not even that. So the idea is because the region is going to be, in shortfall, and whatever the model may be, I had a discussion with my physician who actually created a walk-in clinic, but they folded them because there was changes in the regulatory requirements that because people didn't have primary care physicians, they decided that if you saw someone 3 times, they attached to you. So the physician said, we're closing all the walk-in clinics. There's other administrative cost burdens that create a real difficulty for attraction recruitment. And so there's a number of various things I'm going to propose because of that. And I think we have a proposed motion, at least to start an investigative process by staff and report back to us. So do we have that queued up? Oh, it's so long.
Only a lawyer would submit that.
Okay, so that the regional district investigate the feasibility of establishing a regional primary care support service under the Local Government Act to assist with recruitment, retention, administrative support for family physicians and other primary care providers within the Strathcona Regional District, to include consultation with the Ministry of Health to determine required statutory or policy permissions for regional participation health services delivery, Island Health regarding partnership frameworks in alignment with existing primary care network and attachment initiatives, and the Campbell River District Division of Family Practice and other local medical stakeholders to identify needs, barriers, and opportunities. The scope of review to include potential service models, including regional hub or hybrid distributed models, estimated administrative support costs, e.g. I was told it could be about 8,000 per month by physicians that they have to clear before they actually even make money because of the administrative burdens they're facing. We might be able to offer some economies of scale. Sorry, I'm making commentary when I should be reading the motion. Governance and risk management frameworks, including the use of indemnification liability protection under the Local Government Act, possible funding and cost sharing mechanisms with Island Health, the Ministry of Health, or participating municipalities, and any required legislative or regulatory amendments or ministerial approvals, and a staff report back to the board with findings, options, and recommendations for next steps, including potential service processes. And I don't have a date. It says by a certain date. So I assume this is going to take some time. What's the recommendation?
We'll just delete the date there.
Okay, well, so the mayor suggested spring 2026, so we'll use it as a target. Further, that the chair be authorized to communicate the board's intent to explore a collaborative regional approach to primary care access with the Minister of Health, the Chair of Island Health, and the Kamloops Division of Family Practice.
Second.
I'm sorry, could you start again? I missed part.
No, I'm sorry.
No? You want to see the top part? There you go. Who's the seconder? Kermit? Thank you.
There's a lot of consultation required with the ministry. We can't do health services without their okay, but I think we should learn what the rules and requirements could be.
Okay, Director Colburn?
And I was just wondering why this didn't come as a notice of motion. It's a lot to unpack, like a really lot to unpack. And not saying that I want to delay that process at all, but considering in the region where our medical services may come from. So as a region, ours, for instance, doesn't come. So I wanted to like unpack, make sure that we've got all of the check boxes checked and everything before we start the process. I was just wondering why it didn't come as a notice of motion.
I was just chatting with Dave and he suggested this. I'm like, oh, let's get it going. If we want to wait till next meeting, I'm fine, but.
Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. And I really would like to echo what Director Colburn said. I feel like at the end of this meeting to have now a more than one page motion that we need to consider. There's a lot of words there. And I too would really prefer this as a notice of motion so that we can have a fulsome conversation about it. There's a lot in there. And I can tell you from an island's perspective, I had a meeting with Ministry of Health officials and I was advocating for a community health center, which there are volunteers on Quadra and Cortez and Reed Island who are really working hard on that. And I don't even see that included in this motion. So I do feel like a notice of motion and a more robust conversation would be appropriate.
Mr. Chair, I'll move we defer to the next meeting.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, you one opposed? Okay. One opposed. The motion is carried. Okay. Addendum item. New business first, sorry.
Can I just
Mr.
make one
Rice.
comment on there? I would love to see the article you're referring to, the other community that did this, just have a little bit of background, if that's possible, just send an email out to everyone. I'm definitely interested in this and it's all brand new to me too, so. No.
Well, I'll try and find it. I'll have to Google it and then send it out. I guess I'll send it to Mr. Leach and it'll get out.
Okay, new business, Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. Just two quick items. First of all, I wanted to comment on the new signs that Area D got for the trail that connects through Shelter Point Farms. It's been a long time. I asked for this a while back. That Shelter Point Farms has a legal hunt area, and in the fall there is a legal hunt. It has always been a source of complaint to folks that are walking on that trail. So now on both ends of the trail, we've got signs notifying the public that they're about to leave SRD lands, that hunting could be in progress, and the same on the other end. So I know I talked to Patrick Evans last week out at Shelter Point, and he was quite happy to see those. The second item that I have, and just a quick one, is that I know that we're in the midst of a provincial strike. A lot of ministries are closed. A lot of work is grinding to a halt. But I'm wondering if staff can give me a quick update on the traffic study, and hopefully, because of this strike, that traffic study can still somehow move forward so that we can get it completed in good time.
Looks like Sheena might be able to give you a quick update. Oh, you're lucky.
Thank you. Thank you through the chair to the commission. Unfortunately, the project lead is on strike, so I'm not able to get an update. I did reach out to them earlier this week and just got an email bounce back. We did have one meeting where there was good participation with planning and with the transit planners from the city of Campbell River and all of the other. The school district was there as well, speaking about sort of bus access and whatnot. So we have not seen any follow-up. There's a few follow-up questions that they provided. We share that information and we're just waiting for next steps and for the strike to conclude.
Move that the report from Director Rice be received.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Move
Go
that
ahead,
the
Director
addendum be
Rice.
considered.
Second.
Bylaw number 618, Electoral Area D Fire Protection Service. Like to move that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
We haven't voted on the addendum item.
Oh, sorry.
So that's okay.
I'll move that the addendum item be considered.
It's already been seconded. Just need a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried.
Move item A, that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Move item B, that bylaw number 618 being the Electoral Area D Fire Protection Service Conversion Bylaw 2025 be now reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. There is no closed session.
Move termination.
Director Wally, discussion? Nobody wants to talk about it for a while? Okay, well, I guess we're done. All in favor to, all in favor, those opposed? Nobody's opposed. Y'all have a good Halloween.